Hello and welcome to our first ever virtual phonics workshop for parents. The idea of this session is we're going to explain about how we use phonics to teach children to read and write in school. Now, some of you may be familiar with the term phonics and you may have even had phonics when you were at school. For others, it will be a completely alien term, but we're hoping to demystify it, to explain what it all means, and also to explain how you can support your child to learn phonics and to then employ that into reading and writing. So I guess the first question to answer today really is, what is phonics? Phonics is simply a method of learning to read and to write. So in phonics, children learn the 44 units of sound that make up the English language. They learn to recognise those sounds when they see them, and then they learn to put the sounds together and blend those sounds to be able to read words. Now, that's much more efficient and effective than learning to read thousands of words by sight. Research tells us that when children are taught phonics correctly, which means systematically and quickly, and when they use those sounds to blend and segment straight away quickly, that they make the most progress in reading and in writing. Children learn single units of sounds, which means one letter making a sound, such as the A making an A sound and the S making a S sound. They also learn about digraphs, which is when two letters make one sound. So for example, C and H making a Ch sound. They don't make a K, they make a Ch sound in a word. Children also in Year R learn some of the trigraphs, which is where three letters make one sound, all in reception year. The aim for children is for them to be able to see a letter, we call that a grapheme, to be able to see it and recognise that that's a A. At Alva Valley Schools, we follow the Letters and Sounds programme for children to learn phonics, and that just talks about the order that they learn the sounds in. And we use Jolly Phonics to introduce those sounds. And in Jolly Phonics, they have stories and songs and actions to help children remember all of the different sounds and phonemes that they need to learn. But phonics doesn't just start in Year R. Phonics will have been happening in preschools and certainly in our school nursery all the way through, because before we can start teaching children to learn to recognise sounds and to blend them together to make words, they need to be tuned in to hearing sounds. It's such an important phase. So before phase 2, which is where we're starting now in Year R, phase 1 happens all the way through nursery and preschool. And in phase 1, children learn to listen carefully and tune in and distinguish between different sounds. They learn to recognise and tune into and distinguish environmental and instrument sounds. Another really important part of phase 1 phonics is being able to hear when words are rhyming. And in rhyming words, it's the end part of the word that sounds the same. Children that are good at hearing rhyme and recognising rhyme and continuing rhyming strings through stories and songs and just saying rhyming strings have a really good start to reading and also to writing. It really helps. So children may well have been coming home continuing rhyming strings such as sat, cat, mat, bat, and you can just play around with rhyme and continue that on. Now, oral blending and oral segmenting are absolute key skills that children should be learning in preschool and in nursery. And we've been doing a little bit of that in school in the early days for those children that are struggling with that still. So oral blending just refers to being able to blend sounds together without looking at letters and worrying about that, just being able to blend sounds together. So we might say, put your hand on your d, and hopefully children will put their hands on their head. They're blending the sounds they can hear to say the word. And for the segmenting, it's as simple as showing the child a picture of something, so maybe a picture of a cat, and wanting them to hear there's a k. If they say the word cat, cat, they might hear the k and the t. Hopefully they'll hear the k, a, t, and be able to hear all those sounds in the word. When children are competent with those skills, with those phase 1 skills, they are ready for phase 2 phonics, which is where we are now. That's what we're starting to do. If your child hasn't quite mastered all of the phase 1 skills, we would encourage you to play games and to practice that at home. We're certainly doing that in school if your child needs some extra support. Because once children are confident with phase 1, when they see the C, the A and the T, they'll be able to recognise the grapheme, the k, at, and then they'll be able to blend it together to read that word. So the order that we teach children sounds, it's done in a really particular way. We don't start at A and go all the way through the alphabet. We actually start with SAT pin. So S, A, T, P, I, N. Now, the reason we do that is because if children just know the first 3 or 4 of those sounds, already they can make so many words. And we've just shown an example of that on the screen now for you to see. So very quickly, children can learn just a few phonemes and straight away start blending them together to read words and actually start to play around with them and segment to spell words and write words. Because when we teach phonics, we want children to be using it in reading and writing straight away. It's really, really important. So on the screen in a moment, you're going to see all of the Year R phonemes that children learn. So they learn phase 2 sounds, which are usually quite quick and simple to pick up, and they start blending them to read words, and also they start to use them in their writing straight away. We move on to phase 3 sounds, a bit more tricky, and there's quite a few digraphs in there. And then we move on to phase 4, towards the end of Year R, which is where children do lots and lots more practicing of using all of the sounds they've already learnt to blend and segment and to become really confident in their reading and writing. Phonics doesn't stop in Year R though. In Year 1, children go on and learn further sounds, and they learn alternative sounds and spellings.
So a quick recap from me then. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in a word. So in cat, k, a, t, there are 3 phonemes. We blend those phonemes or those sounds together to be able to read, and we segment or we break apart the sounds in a whole word, such as cat, into the phonemes to be able to write k, a, t. And the written form of a phoneme is called a grapheme. Now, when we're teaching children to say the sounds, it's really important that they use pure sounds and that we as adults helping them use pure sounds too. If we don't use pure sounds and we add another sound onto the end of that letter, it can really confuse them when they come to read and write. So for example, M is a very common one to get a bit mixed up, because instead of saying the some people say m, and actually when you say m, it puts a at the end, so is the pure sound. So it's over to Mrs. Petty to show us how to make all of the sounds properly.
Okay, so I get the fun job of showing you how to make these sounds. Now bear with me, I'm not going to look my most glamorous. Are you ready? So for S, you're going to put your teeth together in a big smile, and it's a nice long sound. S. I'm sorry grown-ups, I can't hear you making the sound. Awesome. Ah, open your mouth nice and wide, and it's a short sound. Ah, good job. T comes from the front of our mouths. Your teeth are going to go together, and it's a t sound. P. Ask your child to put their finger in front of their lip, and they should feel their breath hit the finger. P, p, p. Awesome. I. Short sound, Inky the mouse. He spilt his ink all over the desk. We use our whiskers up here. It's a nice short sound. I. Big smile again. I. Awesome. Now for this one, to help the children recognise whether it's a or a n, we're going to use some little visual clues for them. So for n, ask your children to put their fingers on the sides of their nose, and they should feel it up here if they're making it correctly. It's really difficult to produce this sound if your mouth isn't open, because that would make it a sound. So give it a go. It's quite tricky, that one. It's really important that the children are looking at you when you do it. helps them hear it, helps them visualise where it comes from in their mouth. Now we've got a D. D. It's quite tricky as well. Tongue goes behind your teeth and it's a D sound. Ooh, this one's quite good. If you get your children to put their fingers, or you can do it at home, join in with me. Put your hands on your neck, and this is a G sound. You should feel the vibrations down here when you make it. G, G. Our next one is O. We love this one. Stick your lips out, get your pouty faces out. O, O. Awesome. For a K, it's going to come from the side of our mouth, and it's a K sound. A bit like the same for a curly K and a kicking K. Our last one, oh no, we've got a couple more on my back, sorry, stick with me here, is E. E. Our next one is and we've got a R. Bit of a weird sound, I know, and we look a bit silly, but you know, it's all for the children's benefit. R. And then we've got, oh yes, quiet sound. The children love this one, they'll have lots of fun. Can you get them to lick their lollipops? Their tongue goes up behind their teeth and it's a oh sound. Oh. What haven't we done? Oh, we haven't done a B. B. Lips together. B. Awesome. What else haven't we done? Z. Teeth together, a bit like a S, but it's a louder sound, I would say. Teeth together, Z, like a buzzy bee. Okay, so our last sound in phase 2, the first group of letters that we will be learning, is Th. It's a quiet sound. It's really important that you ask your children to just gently bite their lip, and it's a nice long sound. So that's our first set. Our second set is known as phase 3. And this one is a j. It's quite funny. You're going to stick out your lips again and you're going to be a wibbly wobbly jelly, and it's a j. Did you get it? Come on, let's see you join again. You know you want to. Okay. Again, it's a bit like and it's really important that the children are looking at you so that they can distinguish between those two sounds. A V should leave a little tingle on your lip as you say it. V. Very different from Our next one is W. 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 Awesome. X. 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 Like a kiss, I guess. X. X. Y. Y. You're gonna eat your yogurt. Y. Y. Y.
So in a typical phonics lesson, we would first of all teach the new phoneme, and we use the Jolly Phonics story and the Jolly Phonics song and action to help us to do that. We would teach children the name of the letter, so S, and the sound that it makes, S. And we'd practice making that pure sound together and doing the action. Now we'd also introduce words that have that phoneme in to see if the children can spot whereabouts in the word it is. So maybe sat and sing, they're at the beginning, but we'd also introduce other words, maybe as, where it's at the end. And then we would do lots of blending and segmenting through the day, and we'd show the children how to form or to write the phoneme, so to make that grapheme. We also, in a phonics lesson, learn to read and to spell teddy words. So we teach children the skills that they need to learn to read and to write at school, and we ask parents to help children to put those skills into practice. One of the ways you can do that is with the flashcards. So every day when we learn a new sound, we send the flashcard home, and we ask you to collect those up and to show children those at different points in the day and get them to practice saying the sound, to do the action, and then very quickly, when you've got a little pile of those, to put them together to practice their blending and segmenting. We also ask you to carry on with the brilliant reading that you're already doing at home. At the moment, we're using picture books with no words, and children are becoming really confident in telling stories and explaining what's going on in the pictures. And then very soon, children will be having books with words in. and we ask you to use those with the children too to help them with their reading regularly. Now in school, we're also teaching children how to write the sounds as we learn them. But getting ready to write is a really important part of learning to write. Building up those muscles so children have got the strength that they need to be able to write and to write fluently is really important. Now in school, you may have heard about dough disco and flippy flappers. All brilliant activities develop those muscles, but there's lots of ideas on the screen that you can have a go at home to support your children in developing their fine and gross motor skills and getting them ready for mark making. And when they do start getting ready to mark make and have a go at writing the graphemes, encourage them, let them have a go. Let them have a go chalking, or in the snow, hopefully, if we get some. Magnetic letters are brilliant for practicing segmenting without the pressure of writing, but also having a go at writing wherever you are, in whatever you can. Absolutely brilliant idea. Our children particularly love the sand because if it goes wrong, you can give it a shake, rub it out and have another go. So we're nearly at the end of the presentation. On the screen, there's just a recap of some of the ideas we've already talked about and a couple of extra ones of how you can help support your child in their early days of learning to read and write. And on the following screen, there's some useful websites and apps that you might like to look into, again to support your child. There's a brilliant Jolly Phonics app that you can get hold of, but there's also free websites, songs and stories about Jolly Phonics and other resources that are really helpful in the early days. The only thing that remains is to say thank you for watching, and teamwork really does make the dream work. If your child hasn't said it yet, they'll be saying it very soon. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye for now.